about a special little day that was, I think it was Wednesday, and or was it Tuesday? I'm all confused on my days. But the way that we all know it is, can you guess? Earth Day. That's right. So I don't know how many of you were able to participate in some Earth Day activities. Typically, when the zoo is open, we have a lot of games and activities and information to celebrate the Earth. It's a one-of-a-kind planet, and it's our job to keep it healthy. But, you know, I was kind of wondering, how did Earth Day start? So I actually went online and did a little bit of research. And it turns out that back in 1969, and some of you might be saying, wow, that was a long time ago. Some of you might be saying, seems like just yesterday. But in 1969, there was a senator, and I'm going to look at my little cheat sheet here. He was from Wisconsin, and his name was Gaylord Nelson. And he was doing the reading and seeing all of the damage that was caused to the environment from a massive oil spill off the coast of California. And he was taking a look at that, and that really upset him. He's like, you know, we need to start protecting the environment, not only for the animals and plants that live there, but for future generations. So he got together with a group of friends, and the initial idea was to have a teach-in. And that's where they would bring people together and teach them about the importance of protecting the environment. So the first Earth Day was in 1970, and he had a staff of about 85 people. So you might think 85 people, maybe that's not very much, but they were able to generate interest and excitement and people wanting to learn more, that over 2 million people across the United States joined in the first Earth Day. In 1990, Earth Day went global, with about 141 countries joining in, with over 200 million participants celebrating our planet Earth. So one of the things that our president and CEO is very big on is, you know, we really need to be a leader in green practices, in sustainability. So Komodo Kingdom is actually a LEED certified building. And you may be wondering, what does that mean? Because I was wondering that too. So basically, it's leadership in energy and environmental design. So basically, that means from the time we started planning this building, we were looking at ways to be energy efficient and try to reduce the carbon footprint of this building. So 2 years after we opened the building, we became LEED certified, and we were the 15th building in Ohio, the 3rd zoo in the United States, and the first building in Summit County to be awarded the LEED certification. So, woohoo, that's always good. And we're going to take a little stroll, or actually, you know what? We're going to talk about the sharks, and then we'll take a stroll. So, right here, when you come through the double doors of Komodo Kingdom, the first thing that you will be able to see is our aquarium full of lovely lady sharks. These are bamboo sharks. They are full grown, so they're not going to get huge like a great white shark. And if you look at them, you'll notice that they resemble more of a nurse shark. Now, these girls have been with us for quite a few years, and for the most part, they get along. Every once in a while, you might see a little bit of commotion when they are wanting the same food item. But what's really interesting about these sharks is in the wild or in nature, they have been studying if there have been any negative effects to the sharks and their offspring due to rising water temperatures. And unfortunately, they are. Scientists that were studying the sharks would study the eggs, and the pups are born in little egg cases, and they found that the warmer the water temperature and the higher the acidity of the water, the young only survive for about a month. So these animals have been impacted by the climate change of the earth and of the water. So when you hear about it, that is important that we help keep those gases down. So now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about Komodo Cafe, and we do have some really cool signs telling you that this building, or the cafe itself, is a 4-star green certified.
Can you move the mic to your mouth?
Certified building. So basically what that means is anything that we put in this area, the utensils that we serve, the food that we serve, there's a conscious effort to be green, to think about where the items are coming from, and then how they can be used when our customers are done with them. It is the first Green Star restaurant in the state of Ohio. So when the zoo opens again, hopefully shortly, you guys might not be able to come into this building, but we do have a cafe. So you'll be helping to support the zoo's mission by getting some wonderful food here. So I like to call this guy the attack frog. A lot of people don't think the frogs can have attitudes, but this one certainly does. This is called a mountain chicken frog, and this animal out in nature is critically endangered. They have suffered from overhunting from humans. They got the name chicken frog because people said they taste like chicken. I'm sure the frogs didn't appreciate that. And unfortunately, they also suffer from a fungus that is something that comes from pollutions in the environment. So when you come to the zoo, if the mountain chicken frog isn't out and about, you can look in his little den here and he might be hiding. So as we move along, you may know that this is called the Komodo Kingdom building. So let's talk about Komodo dragons. So currently at the zoo, we have 2 Komodo dragons. We have a male whose name is Hadar, and a female named Draco. And I think the female is on Habitat today. She's a little bit larger than him. We don't keep them together. Komodo dragons, even out in nature, don't really want to hang out with each other. They are not an animal that's going to live in a large social group. Instead, they like their own solitary areas. Now, Komodo dragons can get to be about 10 feet in length. So definitely the world's largest lizard. And they can weigh 150 to 300 pounds. So that is a big, big lizard. So I went ahead and took a look. The male, who I believe is in his back area, hanging out doing whatever it is male Komodo dragons do on a Friday, he's about 6 feet in length, and he's 78 pounds. Our female Draco is about 6.5 feet, maybe a little bit longer, and she is 88 pounds. So the male is about 9 years old and the female is 8. And what they found is that male Komodo dragons, whether it be out in nature or here in zoos, is that the males tend to live longer than the females. A lot of times you think it's the females living longer than the males, but if you think about it, the females spend a lot of energy producing the eggs, burying the eggs, covering the eggs back up. So they're not really sure if that has a huge impact or not. So the Komodo dragon is definitely a lizard that you wouldn't want to mess with out in nature. They do have a very nasty bite. They will bite onto a deer or basically whatever they want to bite onto. And the bacteria in their mouth, and now scientists believe that there is actually some venom, will seep into the wound. So the Komodo dragon can just back away, and it may take a couple of days to a week or two for that deer or other animal to succumb from the bite, fall over, and then the Komodo dragon can eat in peace and not worry about wrestling his food. Now, across the way here, we have our rainforest exhibit. And when you come to the zoo, you want to spend just a little bit of time looking around. The whole idea of this habitat was to create animals in different areas or at different levels, just like a rainforest. So when you come, you will see a variety of birds flying around. There we have some tanagers, we have some robins. Right now is a very exciting time because the birds are busy flying around looking for a variety of nesting material for their nests. Down in the water, we have some fish that are called red devil cichlids. And a lot of times when I walk by, the number one comment is, oh my gosh, look at the bumps on their heads. What happened to them? Did they bang their forehead? Well, that's a characteristic of these types of fish. The males, during the spawning season, to attract the females and make themselves look big and handsome, that bump on their head will actually swell. And the guy with the biggest bump probably gets the most girls. Now, the interesting thing is that when they're living in zoos or aquariums, the males will continue to keep that swollen bump on their head year-round if there are females in the tank. Guess they always want to dress to impress. Oh, I see one of our golden lion tamarins. We actually have 2 golden lion tamarins here at the zoo. They are brother and sister, and these guys stay pretty hidden. So, and that's what they do out in nature. They are small tamarins. They don't want to attract a lot of attention to themselves. So they will normally be in the back of the habitat, and you want to look up on the vines. They don't really come down to the ground because in nature, that can make them an easy meal for something else. So they certainly would not want to be down there too long. Now, these guys will eat a variety of insects, berries, different small animals if they can find them. Now, another thing, and I don't, oh, there's one towards the back. We have some freshwater stingrays. The number one question that we get asked is if we do anything to remove the barb, and the answer is no. When the keepers are in there servicing the habitat, they're just very careful and they pay attention to where they walk. They also do what is called the stingray shuffle, and you may hear doing that when you go to the beach. You just want to shuffle your feet so that if there is a stingray in the area, he can get away and you don't have to worry about stepping on him.
Nolan is asking if this is freshwater or saltwater.
This area here is freshwater. So a lot of people are surprised when they see those stingrays in there because they didn't know that stingrays can live in freshwater, but there are actually some that do. So now we're going to head over to some ladies that are enjoying a nice meal of straw. These are our Galapagos tortoises, and these are a favorite of many zoo visitors, not only due to their size, but when they find out how old they are. So the two Galapagos tortoises that we have Pagos that is off to the right. When you look at her, she is going to have the higher domed shell with the bumps at the top. To her left is Boxy, and Boxy has a flatter shell to her. Now Pagos is 31 years old, and I remember her coming here when she was just a little thing. And over the years, she has grown to about 260 pounds. And her roommate, Boxy, is 69 years old and weighs in at about 201 pounds. So these girls can get a little bit larger. They can live a little bit longer. So when the weather is nicer, they can go out to their outdoor habitat. All right, so into curious creatures. And in this area, we have a variety of cold water tanks and what our aquarists call warm water tanks. So when we were designing this, we had to make sure that all of the cold water tanks flew to the right ones and all the warm water tanks flew to the right ones. I have to admit, probably one of my favorite animals in the zoo right now are the crazy naked mole rats. And earlier, some of the pups were out running around. Right now, it kind of looks like they need some moisturizer. So these guys they're always busy. Except at nap time, then they're not busy. But the neat thing about these guys is they behave more like insects. They really don't have any manners. I'll see one sleeping, he'll be sound asleep, and another one will just run right across his face. Another one will sit on him and try to eat. But these guys are really cool animals. In here, we have some leafcutter ants. This is another habitat where if you look long enough, there will always be somebody moving, whether they are harvesting leaves, or tending to the fungus, or the soldiers keeping an eye on the worker ants, or taking care of the queens. Or the one queen. You can always see some sort of movement wherever you are looking. And don't ask me how many ants we have, because I don't know. Now over in this habitat somewhere, we have some spotted turtles, and they're actually very hard to find. Oh, I see one coming over here. He's like, wait a minute, someone's here to visit me. The spotted turtles are protected here in Ohio, and we have been fortunate over the past few years. We've been able to hatch out some baby spotted turtles that can go back into a really release program. The electric eels. I've heard of them, but until we brought them here to the zoo, I never really knew what one looked like. And I think they're kind of unattractive. But they do produce an electrical current, which, I mean, I guess you're not going to hug one, so that's good. So in this area right here, I think we are supposed to have a tomato frog, but he likes to hide. Hopefully soon we will be bringing some sort of lizard species. Oh, good spot, Vince. So the tomato frog's like, uh-oh, they found me. A bright orange color, and many times with your amphibians, the bright colors mean, don't eat me, I'll leave a bad taste in your mouth. There she is. Here we have our giant Pacific octopus. So when you walk to this, she's right tucked back in that ledge there. And she is doing what they do best, the camouflage. So sometimes when you come, if you don't see her right away, you want to look on the ledges, you want to look behind our kelp here, or even sometimes she will be right tucked in along the glass. And she's got some enrichment in there, and it looks like it's siesta time. It's afternoon.
We'll do a call out for Elliot's 7th birthday, and then Annette wants to know, how do they clean their tanks in here in Curious Creatures?
Oh, how do they clean their tanks? Well, sometimes I walk by and there's an arm in the tank. And there's a couple of different ways. The water has a filtration system. Then the keepers can use like a squeegee or a special sponge to reach down and clean the glass. With many of the jellyfish, the keepers also will be using protective gloves so that if the jellyfish were to bump into them, it wouldn't sting them. And every once in a while, then they'll drop the water level a couple of inches or maybe about halfway down to go ahead and add the new water to them. So if you have an aquarium at home, especially a saltwater aquarium, they can be a lot of work. So we have keepers that are just, that's all they do is they come in, they keep an eye on the animals, they do all the water testing, the water quality tests, and the cleaning and the feeding. So in here we have a variety of fish, and I think my favorite is the big puffer fish. I believe he was up towards the glass when we first came in, and now he's kind of hiding in the back there. The other jellies that we have, and if you've been coming to the zoo for a while, you may remember when we opened our jellies, Rhythm in the Blue exhibit, we had the moon jellies. So these jellies are offspring of those original jellies. So they're just hanging out, floating around. And I think jellyfish are pretty cool. They apparently don't have a brain, but they can move around and hunt for food. And to do that without a brain, that's pretty amazing. Now in our look down tank, we have some crazy looking fish. It's called a batfish, and they're designed for life on the ocean floor. Their fins actually have been modified to be more like feet than regular fish fins. And when they want to move around, they'll spread those out and they just kind of walk or glide along the bottom of the tank. So those guys are really strange. Speaking of strange, plants that eat animals are carnivorous plants. Now, I learned something really cool about carnivorous plants, and we're going to take a look at these guys here, the Venus flytraps. Now, we know that they eat insects, but plants need insects for pollination. So how do you get the insects to come to the plant and not be eaten? Well, when it's time for pollination, if you look, the plants growing out of it have a stalk, and the flowers are at the very end of that stalk. So when the insects come to collect the pollen and help the plants reproduce, they are far away from the areas of the plant that could trap the fly or the insect. So when the plants aren't wanting to reproduce, you come and see them, they won't have this long stalk. Instead, if an insect lands on the leaves and the plant can feel it, it gives the insect 3 chances basically to get out. By the 3rd time, they close shut and that insect is no more. Now we're going to head to the dark side. And in here we have our potbelly seahorses. We have some more sea stars. These little guys down at the bottom are called dogfish, and they're kind of like they are a small shark, and they remind me of the bamboo sharks. Just they kind of feed off of animals that live down on the bottom or the ocean floor, kind of like the cleanup crew. They will scavenge, help keep the oceans clean. And the potbelly seahorses are called potbellies because they have big, huge bellies. And for those of you that love seahorses, you know that Daddy Seahorse is responsible for carrying the babies around. I don't think we have any babies right now. Then in here we have a variety of other little fish. I like the guys that just kind of float up and down, and they just want to look like a piece of floating debris, whether it's a piece of a stick or maybe it's a leaf floating in the ocean. And then in here we have our really cool coral display. Now, coral is actually, it's a bunch of animals living together. You can't just pick out one individual. And coral reefs are extremely important to the environment because they provide homes for a variety of animals that may live there, or maybe they're just ocean travelers that are stopping by to rest, find a meal, or maybe even get cleaned. So these guys here, we have grown for a couple years now, and every time I come in here, I always see different creatures. Because sometimes when I come, I'll see the fish, other times the fish will be hidden, and there's shrimp that live in there. So coral reefs are another habitat that have been affected by climate change. So protecting our oceans is something that we really want to do because they're kind of like, if you think about it, the bread baskets of the world. So every habitat here on Earth is important and vital to not only the species that live there, but to us humans. So I hope that you guys enjoyed your tour here of Komodo Kingdom and curious creatures, and can't wait to see you guys here at the Akron Zoo. Have a great weekend.